Hey everybody, Dr. Ray, and we are talking about the ROI of an esports program, specifically focus on collegiate and like high school level esports programs, because that's where I am. I'm at a college, right? So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what is the return on investment. So the first thing people think of, especially like maybe like 2 years ago, but even still today, people think like, well, if I start this esports program, we're going to like make a bunch of money and get like Microsoft's going to sponsor us or something like that. And it really doesn't work out like that. Yes, a few of the biggest esports collegiate programs that started up first have some of those big sponsorships and partnerships and are profitable like that. But that's not realistic for most of us. So let's talk about what is realistic and what is the ROI of starting an esports program, because there is one and it's actually really great. So let's talk about it. Well, let's start out with the money part. So first of all, I would not expect your program to be profitable like with hard dollars. Like, I wouldn't expect that. But there are places where you can get money, and that includes streaming. If you do well and stream a lot, you can make money streaming for sure. You can sell merchandise. You can have sponsorships and partnerships, which are usually coming from local places. Like, I wouldn't expect Microsoft to partner or sponsor you, but I would expect like the local place, the local tech company, or the local store to sponsor you, any local companies. And you can get donations, especially from alumni or people who live around you locally who want to see your school be a success. See the program be a success, and you'd be surprised that those donations do come, because there are lots of gamers out there who have money who will be able to donate. But I would, so while there is that chance of having some money and some dollars coming in, that's not what I would sell to my administration, because it might not happen that way. There are other places where that return on investment, where dollars indirectly are coming in. So let's talk about that, because that's what's really important. And that's what I've been selling to my university and as I talk to other coordinators at other universities, we've kind of have the same thought process. And it's not much different than athletics at universities either. So let's talk about it. All right, so the first thing you get, increasing school spirit. You are literally taking students who may not have ever participated at your school in anything. Like, they may not participate in sports, they might not be in the band or anything. There might be this large, significant number of students that just aren't interested in your university or your high school, and all of a sudden you start an esports program and these students are now part of your school. So not only school spirit, but inclusion. You're including people in a community who have traditionally mostly been outcast from everywhere, every part of society except gaming world, which is now huge. So really they're the backbone of it. But you're now including these students come from all walks of life. Students with disabilities, any person, males and females, can compete against one another. It really opens up a lot of doors that have not been available in a lot of other places. So you have this school spirit. These kids are all of a sudden like the schools. Kids who just didn't care about coming into your school at all of a sudden are like, hey, I'm part of something here. I belong. This is a place I belong now. So that's huge, and I hear that from my students a lot, and it's really important. All right, so we've talked about that, and that goes right along with retention and good grades. Those students who didn't really care to be there and come into your school, all of a sudden are like, I care about this, I like this, I'm a part of this. And that leads to them actually coming in and wanting to participate more in various things. And it also leads to good grades, which we found, which is simply awesome. Also leads to, as I said, inclusion of students who might not been able to be a part of everything, but now they can be included because of video games, which is awesome. Leads to their student satisfaction and happiness, which is also huge. When your school gets good reviews, those students, think about this, they go on to be alumni someday. So you want them to be happy while they're there. So in 10 years, when they're actually making good money at some great job, they're going to be like, well, you know what? I really loved my experience at my university. I want others to be able to experience that. Here's $3 million donation. I mean, maybe you're not going to get that much. Maybe they give $10. Or maybe they just word of mouth. They're like, yeah, I really loved my experience there. My kids should be going to that school. So you got the legacy admission right there. Boom. All right. So just some of the reasons. All right. Next thing. And these are what I think are the biggest ones. is the marketing for your university or your school. It's the marketing. Students who are interested, specifically students, if your school is like, you know what, we need more people interested in STEM. How do you get students interested in STEM? One of the ways to get students interested in that is video games, because majority of students interested in gaming are STEM majors. And if you want to talk about any CEO of a large tech company, that included Apple when, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak started it up, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, any of the tech gurus, big tech firms, and go back and look through their interviews, because all those people I just mentioned, I've done it before. Every one of their interviews says the same thing. Well, how did you get interested in technology? Well, when I was a kid, I was playing video games, and then I wanted to learn how to make one. And learning how to make one, guess what that did? Got me into computer programming and interested in tech. My son, 11 years old, he's sitting there teaching himself Python. Why? Because he wants to make Roblox games. Because he plays the games all the time. Now he wants to make his own. Same thing. It's amazing how it works. It's so cool. Yeah, if you want students to be interested in the tech majors, you better have esports. And for colleges, if you want students to choose to come to your university, if I'm looking at two universities 30 miles apart, both about, let's say, similar interest to me, and I'm interested in computer science or engineering, and I see one of them has this huge gaming esports program and the other one does not, guess which one I'm picking? I'm picking the one that has the program that I'm going to be able to have fun and enjoy. So there's that huge marketing to your university of just getting these students, but it's also marketing to alumni. All of a sudden you open it up like, hey, I was an alumni at a college, wow, I graduated in 2001, so I'm really old now. But my university still doesn't have an esports program. But man, if they started one and had a team, I'd be like, I'm not rooting for my university for any sports at all, because I just didn't care when I was there about the sports, and I still don't. And if they had an esports team, I'd be literally rooting for I would buy the shirt, the undergrad shirt from where I was, the esports team shirt, and I would be rooting for their team. I'd watch them. Think about that marketing, and how many students have went through your school who are gamers now and just have no ties to the school because it just nothing about it sat with them, stayed with them. And while I loved my time as an undergrad and loved my university, I don't have ties like that. They didn't have a big football team or anything like that. Whereas when I went for grad school, Penn State, we had a huge big every sport team. But my undergrad just didn't. And so, if they had an esports program, they would totally have that. So that's the return on investment right there. All of that is how you sell a program. Yes. Is there a chance for some money and partnerships and stuff? Yeah, but I wouldn't guarantee that, because those big, huge partnerships, those multi-million-dollar investments from, whatever company, Coca-Cola and stuff, those aren't coming to your small school. And most likely, those companies have all made those investments already to the first few large programs that started up. Those investments are not common. So don't promise that and don't expect that. But there are ways to make small amounts of money. My program is doing it through donations, through merchandise and stuff. We are making small amounts of money, but it's not huge amounts. So I would never want to promise that. But the ROI, the fact that I'm bringing students to my university and marketing my university and creating something, is what is important. And including students who have literally come to me and said, I was going to transfer out of your university until we started this esports program. Now I feel like I belong. That message is powerful. And the fact that I'm keeping, retaining, and recruiting new students is the ROI. So when you want to talk about ROI of your program, that's it. All right, later all.